All right, and I'll go ahead and welcome everybody back into the Two Balls and a Mic San Diego Punto Football Studios as we have an interview. It'll just be myself for right now, but with it's going to be an honor, a pleasure to welcome back onto the podcast one of my favorite guests, a local person. You know him. He went to Patrick Henry High School. He's been known to play in MLS across in Bundesliga. He went to UCLA. I mean, some of the teams that he's played for: Orange County Blue Star, Hanover 906, Fortuna Dusseldorf, Chivas USA, Portland Timbers, Sporting Kansas City, New York Red Bulls, Atlanta United 2, San Diego Loyal. I've seen some stints in the U.S. Men's national team, as well as appearing now on Golazo. And as of recently, he's also going to be involved with San Diego FC and their broadcast as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and welcome the fantastic Sal Zizzo. Sal, welcome on back to Two Balls and a Mic. Welcome back to San Diego Punto Football. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tony. How are you?
Let me tell you, it's been a week. It's been a very long week doing coverage, and I mean, it's everything that we've always hoped for in a lot of different ways. So be careful what you wish for, because there was a lot of wishing for this exact week, Sal. And again, let me just welcome you. You are one of the most appropriate people to be talking about this subject matter in terms of MLS, in terms of soccer in San Diego. You've recently retired here with your local club, San Diego Loyal, not too long ago. But I just, just to get this started, right? Like, what does it mean, and what do you see with MLS coming into your hometown for the first time ever, and actually launching a team that started playing this last weekend?
Yeah, it was almost surreal, like watching it, like a San Diego team playing against LA Galaxy, at the stadium that, what was it? I don't know, 3, 4 months ago, was the MLS Cup final at, you know what I mean? And so it was cool to see them take on such a big opponent, such a storied, club like the LA Galaxy, and then not only just like blend in and fit in, but actually like take it to them, right? And look, like Galaxy, much has been said about their offseason. They lost some important pieces, from that MLS Cup winning team. But at the end of the day, you're playing away from home. And MLS, it is so hard to win away from home. And so for San Diego to get their first club win against a team like the LA Galaxy at LA Galaxy's place, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I was part of the Portland Timbers when we had our first welcome to the MLS back in, I think that was 2011, right? And we had the task of opening up at Colorado, which was at the time reigning MLS Cup champions as well. And our result definitely did not go that way. I think we lost, like we were down 3-0, scored a Kenny Cooper long shot at the very end of the game. But yeah, it can be very tough, very daunting. And to get that first win, get it out of the way, I mean, look, incredible. But besides the win, I mean, it's just really cool to see a team from San Diego just take part in top, level of soccer in this country. And just been a long time coming, really.
Yeah, and as I show, just the introduction of MLS, Don Garber coming in, just the addition of Manny Machado, Mr. Mansour, and everything that has to happen in order to have a $500 million investment into the MLS league and stuff. But what is this kind of feeling when you see this now? Like, oh, okay, this is actually going to happen. Like, there was a point in time where in your lifetime, my lifetime, this was almost a pipe dream. It's just not going to happen at this point. But the announcement comes down. What are your thoughts? Obviously, in knowing as well that more than anybody, you were also involved with that team right over there in San Diego Loyal in a lot of different ways. Just what did that bring to you? For Sal Zizzo?
Yeah, I mean, right. A lot of teams, I think, paved the way, for this day to finally come. Right. I mean, when I recently, was at the facility at the Right to Dream over on Saquon, and and I was with Marvell. We were over there kind of checking out the place, and Marvell Wynn was an ex teammate of mine. Um, from years back. I mean, we played club soccer together back, in El Cajon back in the day, and so it was cool to see him. We ended up going to the same college at UCLA. Ended up playing on some of the youth national teams together. Played against each other a ton in the MLS, and so when I saw him there, I was just looking at him, and I was just like, man, the first word that comes to my mind is like, I'm jealous, dude. I am so jealous that you know now, like, obviously the selfish part of me is like, man, I wish they had this a few decades ago. Like this would have been, a dream, right? And so now it's a reality, and I'm honestly so happy that the kids nowadays just growing up in San Diego, like they have something to strive for, right? To play in this Right to Dream Academy, which by the way is going to be like state of the art, right? Like it already is incredible, but they're just getting started, right? And so yeah, like just the first feeling was just like, how cool is this? Like, playing in the watching playing soccer my whole life in San Diego, to just see the growth, right? You mentioned San Diego Loyal. Obviously the San Diego Soccers have been around forever, and they've helped pave the way. And not only them, but there were tons of leagues, teams before, right? San Diego Flash and all these different teams to just show up and come and go. And now hopefully, we have this stable MLS team in San Diego that you know, we're San Diego born and bred, so we know kind of how our sports teams have performed. And I'm a big Padres fan. Obviously, the Chargers came, now they left, and that hurts. But yeah, rest in peace, Chargers. But but, like, for me, like, yeah, I mean, like, how cool would it be, right? A San Diego MLS team winning that first major sports championship in the city. I mean, I know every sports, fan in this city kinda knows that little thing in the back of their head, like, "Oh, we've never won a World Series. We've never won, like, a major championship." So that's always something that I think would just be awesome, eventually, it could happen in year 1, who knows, crazy things happen, but just to have them kick off and get a great win in that first game was just, like, cool. Like, I was debating where should I go somewhere to watch it, this or that, and then I was like, "You know what, I'm just gonna." So I ended up going to my parents' house, and I just watched it with my dad and my brother, but it was cool, yeah, we were just sitting there watching it, and then obviously the second goal got us all jumping up and down, so it was pretty cool.
And I mean, in talking about just these connections, right, that have always been there, former teammates, your parents, just the familial connection to the sport and what it means to have MLS here in a lot of different ways. You've lived that experience. And what are some other aspects that you kind of notice that aren't necessarily talked about? The community aspect with the connection to Right to Dream, having an MLS franchise, having the opportunity for somebody who's from here to play in their home city, but do you see just other opportunities that people may not be thinking when it comes to MLS that may develop a little bit later, as they come, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, like, even fans or kids that don't play soccer or have, the aspirations to make it to the next level, to just be a fan and go to games with their family and have it be, a legacy or, tradition that you do with your, kids or parents or whatever, right? And that's kind of like, what I imagine the Padres are now for a lot of people, right? And so I just think like it has a really great opportunity because it hasn't even got on the tip of everyone's tongue yet. So it's just starting out. It's great to get that first win, but like just to build that like cultural part that to be ingrained in the city of San Diego, it's gonna take a little bit of time. But yeah, like opening day is right around the corner. That I'm excited for that. I'm excited to, start the tradition with my, 3-year-old kid and my older 3 daughters, stuff like that. So, um, again, it doesn't. Of course, it's great for like the youth, right? The kids that play soccer to eventually go to Right to Dream and all the aspects of within the game. But I think you touched on it a little bit, like the community, like how involved in the community is it going to get, and can we help grow the city of San Diego and just bring fun entertainment, to the city. And yeah, I think there's nothing you can say to convince me that this would be, a bad thing for the city of San Diego. It's gonna be awesome, and it just adds that extra flair, that almost that missing piece that San Diego always needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about it, right? Like we've been knowing this. Everybody who's lived in San
Yeah.
Diego has been knowing this is a sports town, one, but a soccer town, secondly,
Yeah.
as well, or just as importantly. Regardless of what the crest, what the colors may look like, what your individual opinions might be of that. I want to just commend again the fan base that showed over in Carson, the LA home. They took it to them, and San Diego really showed out, and again, the name still says San Diego at the end of the day, and that's something that cannot be understated and cannot be, overrepresented at all because there really is it's a showcase of who we are, and I think that that's what has to really, go forward, and I love hearing that those traditions with you and yours, and is this really just now the culmination, of what we've always known of like, "Nah, like, this is a soccer town." Like, it's not just the ratings that we watch in San Diego and, "Oh, the World Cup, wow, so many people
Yeah.
watch." Like, no, there's a team here. Now Snapdragon's getting sold out, 35,000 with San Diego Wave, and it's gonna get packed on this weekend as well. It's gonna get sold out and
Yeah.
moving forward, but do you see if we take that step back, and do you see yourself in the middle of that being somebody who's contributed, to the growth of soccer in San Diego in that way? Like, it's happening, it's here.
Yeah, no, it's here. I don't know if I would say, like, I'm gonna take a step back and be like, "Whoa, I helped create this." I don't know if I'll ever, think that, but, like, just to be a part of, some of those select guys, or those, few players that have made it out of here and played beyond, obviously, the city of San Diego, and there's a ton, right? There's a lot of guys that have gone really far, and it's cool to see Luca de la Torre come back, and play in this city at a prime, age in his career too. He lucked out, right? Be able to come back to the city and play, high level soccer. So, um, yeah, man, it's gonna be a surreal experience to see that, at Snapdragon. It's just getting started. Like I said, I think, you can talk all you want, like, before that first game kicks off, but I'll tell you what, if they continue to win, because that's the answer to everything. I don't know if that's like what SDFC is envisioning right off the bat, right? I mean, like, this is going to be a process, right? It's like, I've heard the coach that speak, Mikey Varas, and he's kind of mentioned it, and I've had other coaches, and I kind of have a similar mentality. Is like, look, let's keep the highs low and the lows pretty high, right? It's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is. So, you gotta keep yourselves level headed, right? If we won the first game, but midway through the year, if you lose three straight, now with the world's crumbling around you. So that's kind of how it is in the soccer world. So they have to stay even keel, and they have to just take games one at a time, and see what happens from there. But to get off on that right foot, to get that first win, to get the monkey off your back, I mean, that's huge.
How's Zizzo joining San Diego Punto Football, and I mean, again, what a better person to represent soccer in San Diego because the announcement did come down through San Diego FC. Both English and Spanish broadcasts will feature a rotating cast of guest analysts and experienced commentators providing an in-depth analysis, expert insights, and dynamic color commentary for every match, including the likes of San Diego natives and former MLS players Marvo Wynn and Sal Zizzo. Can you talk to us a little bit how this came about? And then I want to get into this game, this team, and just really get into the nitty-gritty, the nerdy aspect, the things that you're not gonna get on a long form on a big box media that's like,
Yeah,
"Hey, sports guys. Hey, no disrespect, love those guys. I'm
yeah,
teaching a lot of things to these guys and triangulations and formations and
yeah, yeah.
4-3-3s and all these numbers, so I'm trying, but you are an expert even beyond that. What is your involvement with San Diego FC coming in?
Well, we'll see. It hasn't been, like, absolutely defined to a T yet. I know I'm gonna be involved in the media part, and credit to them. They wanna get some guys that, know the city of San Diego, grew up here, have that passion, as you've kinda mentioned. Yeah, and, like, for example, Marvell and I, right? We played in the MLS for a number of years. We kind of know how this league goes, how difficult it is, all these different little nuances that I think the common fan, might have questions about, that we can kind of help, answer a little bit. But yeah, just maybe help out with some broadcasts, but also do some media stuff, with them as well. So I'm looking forward to get that started. Hopefully in the next, like, few weeks or so, to really lock down it.
All right, not to put you in the hot water, but for
Yeah.
full transparency, how is your Gammon Tam language and knowledge? And it's a complicated league in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and it's grown a lot since, I played. They've kinda make up these undercover rules as the seasons go on, but, I know a little bit, I don't know a lot of it. I would have to brush up on a lot of it, which I'm sure I will as I kinda take more into deep dives into rosters and, kinda trades and so on.
And you mentioned obviously the successes that you need to have in order to be successful in MLS. What are some things that you know for a fact are some of those things that a team and a club needs to have success, whether or not they're measuring it in different ways? San Diego FC is incredibly ambitious with what they're proposing here. They're literally trying to revolutionize the way soccer is played at the highest level in the United States. But what are some things that, for sure, even in decades or years past, you had to have to be successful. And then some things that on the other side have evolved, as you mentioned, that in MLS, you know what? It's not this way anymore.
Yeah, well, I do think, maybe not so much from when I was playing, but maybe in the last 10 years or so. So a little bit towards the tail end of my careers, but it's a pretty designated player driven league. I think you need if you get a bad DP signing, it could really hurt you. And if you hit the jackpot on a few of these signings, it can really bolster your club, right? And I know it's a team sport, but some of those individuals, most of the time, are pretty special players, most of the time, attacking players that can really contribute to really scoring some special goals on their own, right? Not just how beautiful your football is, but a guy something that comes to mind is Carlos Vela a few years ago, for LAFC, just how good he was for that club um, in his MVP years. And then while I was in Atlanta, right, you got Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron just really kind of carrying the team offensively. Obviously, you had a lot of good players to help, contribute to them. But without those two guys, I'm not sure it would have clicked, right? And so staying healthy is a big part, right? You need your DPs healthy, you need them on the field. But then I also think you need, that veteran presence, just even a few guys that they don't even have to be necessarily on the field, right? Just guys that are in the locker room that can kind of walk you through those bad moments of three straight losses, or hey, we got to go play at New York we got to fly to New York on a Sunday. We have a midweek game, in Colorado on Wednesday. How do we navigate that, right? How do we handle that? There's going to be a lot of player rotation, so you have to have depth. But when I look back again at my 2018 Atlanta United team, we had Michael Parkhurst, Jeff Lorenowitz, who were guys in their mid to late 30s who kind of helped again right that ship for moments that went bad. Because in that season, we won MLS Cup. We lost our opening game against Houston 4-0 on the road, right? And then we just went on a tear after that. So, and I think San Diego with Godoy and also Boateng, those are two guys that have been in the league a long time and have played a lot of minutes in this league, and so they're going to kind of help bring in some of the guys that haven't played in this league, have had veteran style maybe careers, but outside of the MLS, right? And so that'll kind of all mold together. And then once they get more games under their belt, they're gonna all start to click. But I think the DP part and then having some guys that kind of know the league, I think are two things I think in nowadays in the MLS, I think you need it. And you've kind of seen a lot of expansion teams hit on those points right there from the start. Um, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how it develops. I could see San Diego FC kind of maybe focusing a little bit more on some depth. I think as the season goes on, but that's something that can be added. I think over the course of a season.
All right, so let's build this foundation, right? San Diego FC is having that experience. You mentioned Anibal Godoy, captain in Panama, who is exactly that leader, that focal, strong midfielder, who is also incredibly serviceable as he did in this last game against and first game against LA Galaxy. But this is all through the scheme and through the lens of a certain philosophy, the right to dream model. What are your thoughts on the right to dream style of play, this philosophy that's being led and spearheaded by Yepes Verskov, now the captain in the midfield at 6, along with Marcus and Varston in that final third, in that false nine sort of positioning that he's in. What are your thoughts on Right to Dream and how this might work or potentially not work? I mean, it worked well,
Yeah.
but it might be dangerous in a long season for SDFC.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of the qualities is right is like they want to impose their style of soccer on every team in every game, home or away, right? And so that's a possession based style. They want to dictate the tempo. They want to control the game and put the game on their terms always, right? If the game is being played differently, obviously it's going to be harder for them to get the result in that game. So, um, that's controlled possession, right? Always getting a lot of balls playing through the middle a lot of the time, right? And so, and getting numbers around the ball, creating overloads in certain parts of the field. Um, and if you think about it, up until that game was, I think it was still 0-0 at the time, but they were out possessing Galaxy, right? You
Yeah.
can look at the final stats, and that doesn't tell the whole story because, at the end of every game, it's always going to be the team that needs to score that's going to be pressing them, pushing the game more. And so I think at the end of the day, they might have been out possessed, but in reality, I think they had a little over 60% of the possession up until their first goal, right? And that's key as well, right? They score their goal, they kind of know how to play a different way and play a little bit more counterattacking soccer in the end to get the second goal. They looked comfortable. But yeah, they did everything I think that they wanted to do, right? And it's wasn't perfect, and it's probably not going to be perfect in the last game of the season, and it's not going to be perfect in the first game of the season, right? It's going to take time, and it's going to slowly get better, better and better. You might go backwards a little, and then you kind of move up, and the team's going to get more and more involved and more familiar with the system. But having a guy like Yepe that you mentioned in the middle as a six, I mean, he looked so comfortable on the ball. It just looked like no one was going to pick that ball off. And in that style of play, that right to dream style, and that um, those central midfielders need to be so good in possession. And I think on the day they were good on possession. And on the flip side, right, Galaxy gives the first goal away because they're trying to play out the back, and SDFC didn't have any of those mistakes that really hurt them. And so, like, yeah, at the end of the day, right, in that specific game, we'll see as the season goes on, but they were able to play their style more than Galaxy was able to play their style.
All right, let's talk about the game itself a little bit as we move
Yeah.
into this next part because we can go through the roster and there's a lot of people, fans, and just people who are coming into it, and even now after watching a game who are still like, who? And that's, I believe that's fair. Marcus and Varston, not a necessarily a household name.
Yeah.
Oni Valakari came from the country of Cyprus right now, who's playing over there, and Finnish player that people are going to get used to. 9 players debuted in MLS against Galaxy this last weekend. That's an impressive number, to
Sure.
say the least. So, what is impressive about that aspect? Right, this team has been only training for a little over a month. What are some difficulties that they were able to surpass in order to not only take it to the champions, but really make LA Galaxy look like the expansion team, make those mistakes?
Yeah. I mean, look, you said it right there. 9 guys that haven't played in this league, right? And so we'll see. Again, it's a long season. It's a really good result, right? And in football, anything can happen on any given day. These are all professional players. You got a guy like Anders Dreyer who, crushed it and scored over 20 goals in a European League one season, right? And so he's coming to the MLS and starts off with 2 goals. I mean, these are all really good moments that can help springboard this team, to continue to progress, right? You never like if this game had gone badly, right? Poorly, you lose 3-0, regardless of if they played very similar, right? Maybe some of their goals don't bounce their ways. Maybe the Miguel Berry slide goes in, whatever, right? Um, I still think they played their way. That's why I kind of say, like, you got to keep your highs low and your lows high, right? You got to stay even keel, and you got to, it's a process. All this is a process, and you got to keep getting better and better. But man, how sweet is it to get that 2-0 win on the road? Right. And you mentioned, some of these guys aren't household names yet, right? And I think it's the right to dream way to they want to create the household names, right? They're not going to go out. That's just not them. They're not going to go get Zlatan Ibrahimovic, even though, I don't know, but there's rumors about De Bruyne, right? But they're
Mhm.
not going to go out and get a guy like that maybe they feel like doesn't help the team today, right? So they're getting Chucky Lozano in his, you could say almost in his prime, right? He's still young, he still can get up and down the wing, and they're trying to create players from within to then make household names, if that makes sense. And it's not going to obviously stop from just buying players. It's maybe finding those deals, where maybe this player is undervalued and this player, needs to just get in the right type of team, right? You look at, Tomas Angel, who had that assist, right? I mean, he's a guy that came and had a great little time in Colombia and did great. And maybe he's just bounced around and just hasn't been in the right environment. I know SDFC thinks very highly of him. So, for him to only play, I think it was 6 or 7 minutes and to get an assist, like that
Yeah.
stuff does amazing for your confidence, right? Even if he just comes in and plays well, but for the psyche of a player, oh, I got an assist, it's on that stat sheet. Like that stuff helps as a player. And so, all these little things are really good signs in the first game that everyone it really helped elevate them to then go to the next level, right? It's everything, a lot of check boxes, right? I think they spoke about a lot of, they don't really have SDFC. We don't have these major, you know, goals like let's go win MLS Cup or let's.
Mhm.
It's a lot of micro goals, right? And I think one of their micro goals was win our first game together. Well, they just like they checked that box, and I'm sure they checked a lot of other boxes along the way, right? And they're gonna keep growing it until they kind of get to a point where if they did all these little micro goals, now they kind of have that ability to win now MLS Cup or get to that ultimate goal.
Yeah, and with you mentioned Tomas Angel in his short time on the field, like before that assist, he actually had a chance to potentially seal the deal or just do the smart play where he had the ball, he was running towards the defense, it was already opening up, and he took a shot from nowhere recommended, and it just veered on instead of maybe going to the corner, wasting some time or waiting for somebody to come in. But
Mhm.
you see that learning aspect right in game in that short time, and that's what I think as well. That learning experience that Mikey Vadas is going to go ahead and bring that fostering of youth, and that's what himself is excellent and a specialist at. He doesn't have or didn't have up until this last weekend any senior team experience. He's worked with the kids, he's worked with development, and so that's an important aspect. Can you talk a little bit about Mikey Varas and this approach that he has, along with, I'll just say, a money ball genius with Tyler Heaps and what he's doing? Talk about Anders Dryers and getting a bargain. That's a bargain right there.
Yeah, I mean, just from the small conversations I've had with both those guys, and just listening to Mikey Varas, I haven't had too many like personal conversations with him, but he sounds very very similar to a coach that I had, Jesse Marsh, right? He's um, very smart, very kind to all people. He cares deeply about his players. He cares deeply about the organization. From the little that I've heard, and yeah, he does want to grow the youth, but he cares about his players. He cares about their mental health. He cares about how they're treating others, the respect that he treats. The vice versa, right? The respect he gives, but the respect that they give him, and the respect amongst the players and the whole organization. So. Like I said, just from the conversations I've had, it reminded me a lot of a coach like Jesse Marsh, who again was one of my favorite coaches, probably my favorite coach for sure. I mean, just taught me so much, and even when I coach my youth club soccer, I kind of notice a lot of my attributes are from the way his style is, right? And so. Yeah, I think he's good. And you mentioned, his experience in developing youth, and that kind of plays into what Tyler has done, right? Not only about the deals, right? There's always going to be got to make the first team, click, and what can I do here, and can I buy a player here, sell him later, and start bringing in money, and there's just all these different things, right? That Tyler has to deal with. And so far, right, he looks like a genius. He's done really well. But I think ultimately what you see in this team, it might not be what the team looks like 10 years from now, because
Yeah.
they're focusing so much on the youth and the development of young players that I think you have to take like an approach of how SDFC is going to do it is they're going to grow a lot from this academy within, and they're going to get young players and they're going to develop them and they're going to turn them into what we talked about before, right? Those household names. And then eventually if their time is to then move on from San Diego, a lot of these players will go play for big clubs and then say, hey, I was a San Diego FC player one day. And then, that not only grows the game, right? Like imagine a player from San Diego, grows through the Right to Dream Academy, plays for SDFC at 17, stays here for 2 or 3 years, and then goes signs in the Premier League, right? And then starts crushing over there. You're telling me a lot of these, fans that maybe are just in this San Diego FC bubble will now start opening their mind up to, oh, what's the Premier League? And then they start becoming a lifelong, global football fan. And so these are all things that I think the Right to Dream Academy can do for the city of San Diego, because they've done wonders, right, in Egypt and Ghana and Denmark and their other academies. And so it's going to be pretty incredible to see that in San Diego. And I think you have Tyler, who's a young guy who understands the process, and a guy like Mikey who is, like you mentioned, good at developing young kids. I think if they can stick together and grow that partnership together for years to come, I know they'd love to do it. But in football, coaches, GMs come and go every 3-4 years, but I think their legacy will be the groundwork that they lay now, right, for the Right to Dream and to push the team, the boat in the right direction for years to come.
Yeah, and speaking just about that immediate impact, right? Like what's more immediate than your first game? Making sure you win that and really just having success in the small aspects. And talk about small aspects right here is really that high pressure just in the game. Chucky Lozano being able to take advantage of a mistake. Invarson just lets the ball go because he
Smart.
sees Dreyer
Yeah.
coming in. That's my favorite play in
Not only
Dreyer.
that, I mean, I can't tell, but was he offsides, and had he touched that, I would imagine he looked a little
Correct.
bit. Yeah, so I mean, very smart for him to just leave that and see, Dryers come in, and again, I think that left foot's gonna score a lot of goals this season.
Yeah, you see here Chucky Lozano, and then boom, he just lets that ball go. But he knows he's not a selfish player
Yeah.
in Boston in doing that, right? His first instinct was to look for his teammate and say, okay, there's somebody behind me. And even if there's not, there should be. There's
Yeah,
Dreyer
and
making
even
up.
if I can't, again, I don't know when you paused it, but even if he wasn't offsides, I think he knew, "Hey, there's a possibility that I could be offsides," right? Yep, I think he probably there you go, he was. So, he knows that, and so a selfish striker maybe says, "Oh, I'm right on the line, let me just take a touch here and then finish it," because his body shape's not there. But he sees Dryer behind him and lets it go, and then, again, great finish. I think you're gonna see at least, I don't know. It's just a bold statement. I don't know, 15 plus goals with his left foot this year. I don't know. He's on a good pace right now, and when the SDFC immediately signed him, I texted my buddy who I play with in New York, Sasha Kleshin, who does a lot of the MLS stuff, and I said, "Hey, what do you know about him?" And he's like, "Oh, Anderlecht liked him a lot and thought very highly of him." So I expected, good things from him, and he obviously got off to the right foot,
Yeah,
or left
exactly.
foot, I guess you could say.
And that's exactly what the best case scenario is for San Diego, and really taking it to them. And you can even argue in this game, right? At this point, 1-1, 1-0, it's more of Galaxy losing the game. Maybe it potentially should be unfair, a 0-0. But then the end of the game is upon San Diego FC, and then you get this fantastic play once again to seal the deal. Tomas Sankel coming in, getting the ball from Dreyer back to him.
Yeah.
Campanazo, woodwork, goal.
And he actually, I think, wins the ball. So I think it goes on hell to Dreyer, I believe, unless that wasn't him that played it. But I think it might have been. I don't
Maybe
know if you
two
could
balls
go
in my
back, but
technology. Let's see.
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Is that
so
him?
he's right there. He's the one that starts the
Yeah.
play. Yeah,
He starts to play
absolutely.
with Dreyer, plays it in back to him. So it's basically a two-man game right there at that point. But this patience right here, I think, is wonderful for him to just pick that out. I think he saw probably Dreyer running from the start. Like, he might have peaked before he had even taken his first touch and said, "Oh, he's got that guy beat." He probably right there, saw him not tracking right there,
Hmm.
and said, "All right, I already know what I'm gonna do with it." And then another great finish from Dreyer, get it on his left foot.
And
Great,
just
great goal.
a world class pass, world class just goal right here.
Yeah,
Again, you mentioned that vision, right? Like right, that pass right there is world class. If nothing comes
yeah.
after that, great. We saw a great idea,
But
a great
all
play.
what's cool about this too is honestly like 95% of soccer players right there in the I don't know what minute this is, 93rd minute. He wasn't a sub. He's been there for 93 minutes, Dryer, and he's not just happy with his pass saying, "Hey, go take this into a corner." He takes off in a sprint from over here. I mean, that's incredible. He sees the opportunity. That's why I say you got to want the goal, right? If he doesn't make that run, forget it. He's not going to get that brace on the day. And so I mean, look, that's a lot. That's a huge work ethic, and that's a huge statement for, I think, what you can expect from a lot of these players. And in something that Mikey Varas has basically said, like, look, we work here, we work at this club, and doesn't matter who you are, he's gonna hold you to a standard. And look, Chucky Lozano, like he was unlucky to not get a goal as well. I mean, that was actually, in my opinion, a really good finish, right? Obviously, it
Mhm.
didn't finish, but it was a great save from the goalkeeper. But it was the right decision to try to chip him in that moment. And I thought the goalkeeper made a magnificent save, but that looked like it was destined to go right in the corner too. So um, yeah, more to come from him. Obviously, he gets that assist on the day too. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun year with them too. Hopefully, clicking on all cylinders. But again, even myself, I have to say, hey, keep the highs low and the lows high.
But there's one point where you can have to be in the high, right? And
Yeah, I mean, if we're 10 games in and we got 7 wins and 3 draws, I'm gonna be, you know, tweeting about SDFC being the best team in the league.
and then the emotion, right, comes in, right? Mikey getting his first, win,
Yeah, a lot of
first
firsts.
first a lot everything yeah, everything's a first right now, even down to the first yellow card, first everything. I was going down the provided stat sheet from SDFC from every first that they had, and it's really impressive. You mentioned that you were celebrating that second goal, but full time, what are your thoughts? What are your emotions? Just kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, just wow. Like, I was looking over from the couch because I was sitting on the right at my dad, like, wow, man, they pulled it off. I mean, a lot of people, right, didn't give them a chance on the day, and didn't really give them a chance going into the season, right? I mean, a lot of people, what, 15th in the West, this and
Yeah.
that, and and even myself, like, well, let's see, it's a first year team, you gotta always take it with a grain of salt, but man, they took it to them. I mean, there's still a lot to go in the season, and nobody's, you don't hear a pundit say, I got it all wrong. I shouldn't have picked them 15th in the West. They're probably going to be like, let's give it the whole season before we, start to get off that train. But yeah, I mean, look, they proved everyone wrong, and I think honestly, what I mentioned, the team, it just doesn't even care they almost, it almost will fuel them. You know what I mean? And Coach Mikey Varas, I could already tell he's the coach that doesn't give a crap what other people are maybe saying about him. They keep it within, and they do the things that they feel like they need to do to win games, to improve the team, to get the team headed in the right direction, and all that noise is just blocked off, right? And just fuels them. You're right. And they're not even talking about it. They're not even bringing it up. They're going to say, we're going to play our style of football. We'll let our football do the talking. And I think that first game, I think it put them a little bit, on everyone's radar. Like, well, maybe we had this pegged wrong. So again, still a long season, but yeah, definitely raised a lot of eyebrows around a lot of the media that maybe wasn't talking so highly of SDFC.
Yeah, no. Again, it was a giant question mark. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
Sal. Like right
yeah,
now, much like I intook San Diego Loyal, like
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I understand the game. I
yeah,
know, and I designate. Okay, that guy's the 8. That guy's a 10. That guy plays
yeah,
this way, fullback, and then I start attributing numbers like, that's Charlie Adams. That's Colin.
yeah,
That's who
absolutely.
this is, right?
Yeah.
That's the learning process here as well. Because let me tell you, I wasn't very familiar with this guy back in the day. Two very
Oh, there
different
you
people
go, yeah.
uh, from what we have now. But just a different lifetime
I
from
think I took some of your LBs, from you and put it on me, and you're looking better now.
yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
now I took them because 'cause I'm retired.
It's all good. You still got the quality. You still got the
Yeah,
touch.
we'll see.
We'll see you at a soccer's halftime show maybe,
Yeah.
up in Oceanside. But Sal, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on in and talk San Diego soccer, San Diego FC, because it's incredibly exciting, and to have a voice like you being able to have such a unique perspective in this is going to be invaluable, not just for the people listening here, but just for the people following San Diego FC. Because if there's one thing that I really hope that they continue is that they foster San Diego people and everything from this fantastic, wonderful city of ours. And again, just give them hell, man. Like be in there. Like we need more San Diegans in San Diego FC.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being on there. But Sal,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
No, yeah, thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me, and, I'm sure I'll see you on Sunday, I'd imagine.
What's the thing
Or
when
sorry,
you,
on Saturday.
yeah, these days are blending together.
Well, their
What's
opening game was on Sunday, I'm all over the place.
what's the one thing before I let you go that you're really gonna just take a moment for the first game for San Diego FC here this weekend?
Yeah, tough to say, like, I just I would just say the whole environment. I mean, just walking in the stadium, when I was a player, it was always a different perspective being, whether I had, yellow card accumulation or an injury, and I was up in the stands with my, with my family watching the game, just to see the undertaking from a fan perspective, right? Sometimes when you're a player, you're so in the zone, right? You're watching, you're focused on the game, you're focused on all the X's and O's, and doing all the things you need to do, and then the game ends, and then you can finally like take a breath, like okay, whew, and then you got to prepare for the next one, right? But like, as a fan, you're in the stadium, and you're not only watching the game for the whole time, right? You're hey, I gotta go do this, or oh, this my kid needs to go to the bathroom, right? It's all these things that happen throughout a game as a fan, and it's just so different. But all the while, a game that I played in my whole life in such a serious, you know, fun time in my life, was happening on the field, right? And so it's going to be weird to take it in, just getting in the stands, finding your seat, and just being able to watch a soccer match, and saying, hey, 10 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago, I was one of those players doing that on the field. It's so cool to see that now, in the city of San Diego. And yeah, it all starts in the city of San Diego Saturday. So I'm excited to see that.
Absolutely. Well, Sal, thank you once again for your time. I'd love to catch up and do this again. I tell
Yeah.
everybody who's a soccer, like in soccer and knows ball, like this is a safe space for you guys, for
Yeah.
everybody. Let's talk X's and O's. Let's talk tactics. Let's talk
Let's do it.
what actually matters in the sport of soccer.
As this season goes on, and SDFC starts to create a bit of an identity, and starts to kind of, we can start to figure out what maybe they really wanted to do in a game and weren't successful at it, we can talk a little bit more for sure.
I love that, Sal. All right. Thank you once again.
Yeah.
Go ahead and enjoy the weekend. I'll go ahead and hit record and we'll end it right